Hello and welcome to The Last Word on Spurs. This is your award-winning podcast and we are back with an amazing array of guests, returning guests, shall I say. And yes, you might notice that I haven't got an amazing black leather jacket on. And yes, you might notice that I don't look anything like Rodrigo Bentancur. That is because I am not the main man, the boss, the Ricky Sacks of this world. He is sunning himself away on holiday, on a very nice, well-earned holiday. So you have got the crazy train driver hosting this show with these other amazing guests. And of course, returning on this amazing show tonight, we have Jason. Jace, how you getting on, bud? You well?
Not too bad, mate. Enjoyed today's game and been lovely weather in London, so it almost feels tropical. So fantastic week, mate.
Loving it, mate. Absolutely brilliant to have you back on alongside me, of course. And also, we have the wonderful, the epic, the amazing Ricky J. Norwood. Rickster, how you getting on, son?
Good, brother. I am good. Good to be back on. Like Jay said there, the sun is shining, the weather is sweet. We've had a good game. We've got plenty of green shoots to talk about. Plus, we won it as well, so we keep the win rolling. And yeah, it's great to be on with you beautiful people. So let's jump in.
Love it, mate. Love it. So you got a fan in the back there, Rick. You got a fan in the back there. You might need to turn that on later. It is sweltering.
They might need it, mate.
That's it, mate. That's it. And last but very no means least, we might even get a tune out of this fella by the end of the day. Who knows? But we have got the wonderful, the epic Timo Winstone. Tim, how you getting on, fella?
Mate, I'm absolutely buzzing. After this morning, I think I'm going to call this National Sunday because I know we're going to get into it, but he was on fire today. You see behind, so we've got the song out today. It's in my head. It's been in my head all day, mate. So yeah, really looking forward to getting into stuff. Great to be back on the show, you boys, and yeah, look forward to discussing everything Tottenham.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into it then. I mean, this is the final result. You can see, you've just mentioned in there, Tim, and actually I'll probably stick with you on that. He was absolutely on flames today, and you can see that, we have ended up winning the game 4-3. And actually, quite interesting, the last time we played them a couple of years ago, I think it ended up being a bonkers scoreline, like 6-2 as well. So, lots to discuss. But how good was Sonny today?
Do you know what it is? Again, I'll put a few tweets out. So, yeah, we've been playing them through the middle last year. I understand the reasons why, but today was just a pure example of why Son has to play down the left and why we have to buy a striker. Because, yeah, he does that. Yeah, I mean, the balls into him were great. Donny was great. He does that cut inside. And the goal he scored, it was almost a carbon copy of the Kulusevski goal where it didn't quite sort of work. I didn't catch it right, but Kilo obviously followed up. So it was just amazing, and it's great to see, in Asia where he's obviously loved by everyone, and to turn up like that, score a couple of goals, just have an outstanding performance. He's had a great pre-season. I was really, really happy for him, and it just bodes well for the season, doesn't it? Captain, leader, and all that. So if we got him firing on all cylinders, then I think we'll be okay, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Jace, coming over to you. I mean, was there any surprises at all in the lineup? Just putting the lineup on there. We had Vicario and go, Pedro Porro, Emerson Royale. That's probably added a couple of million to his valuation. Then lost it again with that mistake, and then maybe put it back up again when he hit the bar. You got Ben Davis in there, Jamie Donnelly, Saar Gray, Bergvall, Kulusevski, Son, of course, the captain. Tim's been whacked in Liverpool about, and of course Brennan Johnson. Was there any kind of surprises at all for you there, Jason? Pretty much expected.
No, I think we're just now really waiting for the returning players, aren't we? Udogie, we know, goes in that team. Mickey van der Ven goes in that team, and obviously, there's one or two others that will come in. So, it is what it is at the moment. They're the players that are out there. It kind of mixed and matched, didn't it? It wasn't necessarily our strongest lineup with Maddison not starting, and I'm pretty certain Werner will start as well against Leicester as it stands at the moment or something. So, and we'll end up probably with Sonny as a striker. But it's just a question. I thought today was, I thought the Vissel Kobe game I actually enjoyed more because I thought there was a little bit more to that. Today, I think wasn't much more, let's be honest, than an exhibition game. When you're a league select team that's only been training together for a few days, you're not going to have that organisation, they're all trying to impress to get their move to Europe or something like that. So it was a bit of a strange game like that, and an absolutely bonkers start to the second half. You just messaged me and said we're battering them, and suddenly they went bish bosh, and it was 3-2, and they'd also had a goal disallowed. And I think you went back and said, yeah, the K-League are battering Tottenham. That's what's happening.
It was like the commentator's curse, wasn't it? It was like the commentator's curse.
Poor old Brandon Austin came in. The first thing he did was fish the ball out the net 3 times. Poor sod. So, but no, it was an exhibition game. I think the real one where we get a much better idea against Bayern on Saturday. So look forward to that one instead.
Yeah,
but for sure. You just see what Sonny is, don't you? Every time his picture goes on the screen, it's like a pop star.
Just goes mad. Yeah, it does.
There's total loyalty out there. He is national hero.
It is. Ricky, coming over to you. I mean, 14 minutes was probably the first chance that we saw, real live chance in the game. Pedro Porro making their goalkeeper work. And then, of course, a quick fire from Brennan Johnson on the follow-up, which their goalkeeper did save. And it was actually, it was the 24th minute that we started to see a bit of Yang, the new boy that has come, obviously playing for the opposition today. But he properly done Emerson, didn't he? Done him with a turn. And that's what dropped Emerson's value by a couple of million for AC Milan. But he blazed that over the bar. And actually, it was on 29 minutes, was a very, very great effort from Son that was parried by the goalkeeper. And it was very quick from Decky, wasn't it? To get the first goal, he sprung it like a... I don't know where the pace has come from. People said you used to run in treacle, Decky. But now you've got the pace, you got there and fired it into the top corner. What did you think of this first kind of 29 minutes, half an hour before we actually scored and getting that goal?
I think it was a really interesting game. Firstly, having the youngster trio in midfield, I thought that, and them starting the game, I thought that was interesting to see. What has really impressed me, Kulusevski has impressed me in that central role. His flicks, his tricks, his tenacity. And when you talk about his pace, like when he's running out wide and into space on the wings, majority of the fullbacks have got enough pace to catch up or to deal with him. But he's got short sprints pace, like acceleration, like in short bursts. And so him being in the middle, being able to kind of choose those moments, you end up seeing that. And plus with his little flicks and tricks and his vision, it's been really lovely to see. It is pre-season. We have to put it out there first and foremost. So we know that it's about minutes in the legs, etc., etc. But the patterns of play, the triangles that we're seeing emerging, and their kind of bravery going forward, it was really encouraging, especially in those that first half an hour. But I thought the most interesting thing that happened in that first half an hour was the drinks break. I think the drinks break was about 20 minutes or something like that. And Ange was on the sideline and he had a proper rollicking at him. And there was a comment down there that came up and went, it's only pre-season, but he was still having a go at him. But that's the thing. That's where we're getting to with the mentality. It doesn't matter what game it is. This is who we are. This is how we play. And this is how we go about our business. And to always reiterate that, and when they're failing, when they're dropping off, because it is unbelievably hot out there. I don't know if anybody's ever worked out and done exercise in the heat, but sometimes the heat can take it out of you. And these boys are running at 100% and, trying to put in maximum effort for the manager. And then when it's dipped, the managers had a proper go at them, and then you saw a response, and that's what led to the goal. It was the response. It was there was a change in tempo. There was a change in aggression. There was a change in the press, and doing that allowed us to kind of start to put together those patterns of play in the triangles. And then you saw, Sonny's shot. It was a lovely shot, and it was a lovely bit of play. But the fact that Kulu was there, aware and ready to be that poacher in the box from that position, again, was lovely to see. It's been great to see them up their minutes and their strength and tenacity. And Son's been an example of that throughout pre-season. They're just getting stronger and stronger, and they're building themselves up, and we can see loads of green shoots. Well,
I think that's
and especially in that first half.
Yeah, I think that's important. Actually, you brought up the drinks break, which ended up being probably one of the most famous drinks breaks that we're going to have. I've actually got a quote directly from the press conference, and Ange actually mid-game said, excuse the language here, team, I've got one fucking thing to say. We go and have a crack man for man. He was very animated, wasn't he, Rick? And then someone in the presser asked him a question to Ange. There was a moment in the first half, in the drinks break, when you seemed to be very vocal on the touchline towards the players. And after that, they seemed to kind of kick it up a notch, to be fair. What did you say to them? And Ange's response to the question was this: nothing really specific, mate. I just added that bit in. Nothing really specific. It was more just about making sure we kept pressing on, because with the conditions, the way they are, the training has been very, very high, pretty high intensity. I didn't want us to back off at all in that moment. I really wanted to keep pushing up until half time to push our fitness more than anything else. We thought it was a good opportunity for us to push on and try to be even more aggressive than we had been up until that point. You guys signed a big young talent in Korea. So he's obviously referring back to that point you just made, just bringing you back in there, Rick, around the comments at the drinks break. And I agree with you. I like that. I like to see that intensity, because he wants to train and have friendlies like he wants to play in the real matches, right?
Yeah, but it's building mental strength. Lee, do you know what I mean? We do have a new nucleus of a squad going on. We've got a lot of the youngsters that have come through the youth system. We've brought in some youngsters. We've got a core of experience, but half of that experience is still away on their holidays because of international duty and etc. So it's about building that mental strength. You know, if you're building that mental strength now, you won't have to say it come game 7 of the Premier League or game 27 of the Premier League, you know, and every time that there is a dip, that kick up the backside to go, wake up. You know, I've been really impressed with the little bits and pieces that I've been hearing from Ange. What he said to the press there, and then what has been reported in the drinks break. I didn't know what he said in the drinks break, but I could just tell by body language that he wasn't happy. Do you know what I mean?
Can I just cut in there, Rex? So sorry to interrupt, mate, but what he's doing, because it just feels to me, and this has been so, the thing is, what we need is consistency, isn't it? So it's a bit like you drive a car, don't you? And you go through this analogy where you sort of learn to drive a car, and then it's just called unconscious consciousness. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to instill in these players, you go forward, you press, right? And then when the minute they drop back, it doesn't matter if it's a pre-season friend or a league game, he's trying to get it into their DNA. So it's just constantly there. And I've seen it so many times now. So he just wants them to not even think that that's what they do. That's just what they do, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So it becomes automatic.
Like a motor program kind of thing. Just like you get up and you just you do your teeth in the morning, that sort of thing. I know it sounds a bit silly, but that's because I've just noticed it a few times last season. So you've had on the touchline bellowing, press on, get the pitch. We've gone from Conte and Mourinho, where it's a completely different style of play. You know it's going to take time to adapt. But the fact we've got these new players coming in that haven't been in that environment, I think it's brilliant, because you just see when we've trained the team for the youth, they just do it, don't they? They just go for it. They're being moulded in the Ange way. It's just brilliant, you know.
Sure, it's a good point.
And they got the reward for it as well at the end of it. Yeah. After the rollicking, they've got the reward.
100%.
So that is also like a thing in the mind to go.
Very quickly.
It confirms the idea.
We do this.
Well, I mean, the one thing in fairness to them, it's not just the heat they're playing in, the humidity. You know, anyone that's been to Asia will tell you this. The humidity is huge at this time of year as well. The heat is a totally different heat to what you feel in here. And the other thing in fairness to them is they've probably done a full-on training session this morning, which you wouldn't do on a normal match day. Obviously, you just do a walkthrough on the Friday, and then you pretty much just, you know, doss around the hotel and go to the stadium on your Saturday. But they will have done a full-on, in that heat and humidity, training session this morning before that game. So, you know, it's another thing, you've got to bear that in mind. You will get it's not surprising there was the odd one dropping off, and probably at the start, they probably are knackered. They probably are knackered. And it's like, you know, at the end of the day, they're thinking it's a league select team. We should have the ability to kind of stroll this, and, you know, I'm sure there were some tired legs in there. So he gave him a kick up the backside, but even then, I wouldn't be too harsh on those first 20 minutes either.
Yeah.
So I've been to Koh Phangan, sat on a Lilo on the beach, and I'm just sweating buckets, just sat there with a cocktail.
Yeah.
So
Sweating now. That's why people want Rick on. They want Rick's fan on. They need Rick's fan on right now.
So if you look at the people on the substitute bench, they're dripping in sweat. And they're just sitting there watching.
Imagine playing that high tempo, and again, you get bollocked for not doing it. It's just it sets it up for the season, doesn't it? Because if we can do it in that temperature, if you can do it in a cold Tuesday in Stoke, we can do it in a ridiculous heat in in Asia.
What he was saying in the quote that I just read out, that's exactly what he was saying. He was saying, I wanted to up the intensity in this heat after we've been knackered to see where we can go. It's the only time you start to see how far you can push them, isn't it, to be fair? Jace, just sticking with you, actually. 5 minutes later, after that great effort by Sonny and obviously Decky scoring on about the 34th minute, it was a fantastic move between Decky, between Bergvall. Son was involved as well. It was an excellent move. And the ball come across and Bergvall crashed the ball against the bar. I actually thought that I wondered if the ref was going to have a look at his watch because I wondered if it was over the line. It was an absolutely fantastic move. And then just a couple of minutes later, 3 minutes later, Son classic from a Donnelly pass. How good, Jason, was Sonny today in everything that happened in the first certainly in the first half?
I thought he was. You could see he was just out to impress his home nation today. I thought a couple of times before that he was definitely looking for the trademark Sonny top corner curler, wasn't he? Before that, he'd had a couple of goals. It was once when he ran completely across the face of the box and couldn't quite do it. I think he just wanted he knows. I mean, that's one thing. Yes, there's 50-odd thousand in there watching Tottenham today, but there's 50-odd thousand particularly watching Sonny.
About 63,000.
60-odd thousand or whatever. Yeah. And he is proud. He is proud to captain it, even more so than he was a couple of years ago, because now he's the club captain. Whereas a couple of years ago when we were there, it was under Harry. He's the leader of the group. You can see how proud he is. And he wanted to give his home nation that minute of joy, and it was fantastic to see him do it. But you could just see what it means to him. And then, like I say, you just put his picture on the video screen, and you just see what he means to the people of Korea. It's none of us will ever understand the demands that are on him. It's crazy.
It's absolutely amazing. And actually, just talk about some of the young youth. Nomad says there, some of the youth pressing. Ricky, if I can come over to you. Donnelly with that pass for Son's second goal. How impressed have you been with Jamie? He's been playing out of position. He's been playing as a left back, traditionally a number 9, dropped into a number 10 role. Been brilliant. How and now playing left back. How impressed have you been in the pre-season, Ricky?
I think he's. I think all of the youth have really impressed me, just with their attitude at stepping up and taking that moment and taking that chance when giving it to them. They're putting their best foot forward and they're giving the manager a lot of things to think about. And Jamie's doing that, for all of the reasons that you just said there. He's not just playing left back, he's playing that inverted left back. So we saw your doggy, start at left back and move into central midfield and be attacking. And, he's been fantastic. He's been there with the clever passes. It's not a panicked pass. It's a clever pass. It's a measured pass. He's there with the crosses. He set up Archie, didn't he, in the last preseason game? He's been everywhere and he's not afraid. And this counts for all of those youth that have come through from our youth system that have come through and played. It's been so impressive to see that, they haven't been in their shell. They've been allowed to express themselves, that go out there and play. And that has to do with the manager as well, kind of going, no, go out there and play. And if you make a mistake, it's all right. We'll figure it out. But as long as you're playing the right way, as long as you're doing the right things, then go and show me. And you're seeing that from Jamie. I think it's kind of him being a left back, inverted left back, has hindered us seeing the best of him. In his natural positions or in an attacking position. We haven't seen the best of him every attacking chance. But the bits that we have seen have been dynamite. I mean, when he had that volley against Kobe, I think it was, and I think they pushed him into attacking midfield at that point. But you saw a great volley, and that should have been a goal. And if it was a goal, I think we all would have been going mad about Jamie. But it's so encouraging. It is so encouraging to see that this style of play is going through all of our youth systems. You know, that the 18s won, the 21s won, and they're getting their reward. They're getting their opportunity to show and stake a claim. You know, Postecoglou is again allowed them to kind of go out there and flourish and make mistakes, and because that's how we learn as humans. You know, we have to make a mistake sometimes to learn why you don't do that. Sometimes just telling somebody not to do that can be like, yeah, okay, but like when you do it and you feel the wrath for it, then you understand the lesson that was trying to be taught. So yeah, just to see these boys be brave and go forward and kind of just express themselves has been fantastic to see throughout the side. But Jamie's been really impressive.
I want to stick with Jamie and actually just I'll come over to Tim and also then Jason as well, because I know Jason's got a big thing on Jamie as well. But Tim, what's your thoughts on Donnelly specifically? Because we will talk about some of the other lads afterwards as well. But Jamie been impressive for you?
Mate, it's been just like all of them. I mean, all the young guns that have come in. What's impressed me most, if you listen to interviews, I don't know if you heard Ali Gold, again, I'll come back to Jamie, but if you listen to his interview with Archie Gray, they just want to play. They don't care where they play. So he's playing centre half, he's playing out of place, he's just like you want to get on the pitch. And it's the same with Jamie, it's the same with all the guys that have come in. They just want to do a job for Tottenham. And there's obviously going to come a point where they'll have go into their preferred position. But his pass has been brilliant. I mean, he can pick a pass instead of like that left-hand side to them, just like bullet after bullet after bullet. He made a few, decent interceptions. He's got a great touch. I just think it's difficult, isn't it? This season, we all want the big signings, but we've been so good in pre-season with these youngsters. You don't want to stifle it, do you? You want to give them a chance to flourish, and it's just that kind of balancing act, I guess, of who you maybe put on loan, who you bring in, and who you sort of bench. It's a tough one, but he's been great for me. It's just like all of them. They play with confidence. When you're getting bellowed by the manager, get forward, get forward, get forward. I mean, you just got to follow the instruction, because they're basically being coached to say, if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. Like in the Spurs, I think it was a QPR game. You guys must have seen it. The cameras in the dressing room. He's like, look, if you make a mistake, next phase. They don't dwell on it. They just move on to the next bit. So if they've been coached like that at an early age, it's just that they've always said about England with the fear of failure. It's the opposite of that. It's just to do is to dare without coining the phrase. Right, and if they can just keep developing that, and they haven't got the scars of the old guard. So we've Kane's left the club and Bar's left the club. They just want to go play football. It's great to see, and Alan Hansen said you can never win stuff with kids. Well, we look pretty bloody good at the moment, so I'll be giving them a go.
Let's see. I mean, the class of '92 for Man United certainly did, but I'm not sure we're quite there yet. Jace, come over to you on Donnelly, if I can. King Hoddle earlier put a comment up that I showed, which was, he for him, he's the best crop at the under 21s. And you were basically saying that earlier, wasn't you, when we were chatting in the group? Talk to me, Jace, about your views on Jamie.
I think he's go back 18 months, he was the number 9 that was scoring the goals. He was the one getting all the attention. Then when Lankshear comes in, he's kind of dropped as the number 10 to start the passing to him, but still maintain a really good goal output. I think when you've seen him play at left back, okay, defensively there's still problems, but when he's had the ball and gone forward, you've just seen his intelligence to be told, right, I want you to do this today. He's straight onto it. No messing. He makes those overlapping runs. I think his in-game intelligence. He's a boy that when you see him at the underage groups, always looks like he's got time on the ball, always got, seems to find himself in the right space. I know Will Lankshear is the one, obviously, that's grabbing the attention because he's getting the goals. But I think Jamie Donnelly's the one that for me impresses. There's a lot more to his game than goal scoring, whereas perhaps at the moment with Will Lankshear, if you think of him as a first team player, yes, he's getting a few goals, but his game's pretty much between the width of the posts, and other than the goals, there's not much there that you could put into the Premier League at the moment. But Jamie Donnelly, you could look at him, and to me, if you're playing some of those Europa games, or you're playing teams at home, bottom half teams, I genuinely he can start contributing to the first team, and the key thing will he get enough minutes? Because like I talk about, it's not number of appearances for me, it's meaningful minutes. it's no good coming on. You've made an appearance in the 88th minute of a game you're 3-0 up in. Well, yeah, you've made an appearance, but it's not meaningful. But Jamie Donnelly, I think, is the type of player now that could be coming on with 20 minutes, 25 minutes to go of a game that's 0-0 at home to Fulham or something like that. That type of fixture where you're thinking, do you know what? I can throw him on there now and have it. And I'm not so sure Will Lankshear is anywhere near that stage at the moment. Will Lankshear reminds me a little bit at the moment of what fans thought of Troy Parrott 3 years ago when we were all, get Parrott in there, get Parrott in there, get Parrott in there. And then as soon as we did, we realised, he's nowhere near a first-team player yet. So, and that's not a criticism of Will Lankshear whatsoever. It's just a totally different stage of their development. But with Europa games, I really want to see Donnelly getting game time this year. But as I think, as Ricky said, when you're seeing him at left back at the moment, you're losing the real advantages to Donnelly. And as soon as he got into that role in that last game where he hit the volley, he also hit the one against the post. And I think he's the type of player that could make those Kulusevski type passes and things like that. There's a hell of a lot to Donnelly's game. He's the one that, for me, is way in advance of any of that crop.
It's interesting, actually. By the way, Jace, you're crossing your arms with your thumb up, and every time you do that, you get a thumbs up on your screen. and then you'll get loads of thumbs up. It's amazing. And by the way, you may as well like and subscribe as I'm talking about that. No, I think it's interesting. I think it's, he's got a huge future ahead of it. It'd be very interesting to see what Ange does with the team. I know we're going to come on to transfers. A lot of people are asking about transfers. Don't worry, we will talk about them later. But I think it's important that we get that right balance, and I do think that's really important.
Cheers, boys.
He's off. He's gone. We've talked about the lights have gone. Here we go. What have I done here? Just finishing off on the first half, actually. Tim's got a couple of mic situations. I'll come over to you, Rick. Right on the stroke of half time, we got another wonderfully worked goal. This was a 1-2 between Sarr and Decky. Went back to Son. Son nutmegged the defender. And then he put it in the back of the net. It was a wonderfully worked goal. And that put us very comfortable walking in, literally in the tunnel at half time at 3-0. And then we've come out in the second half and Emerson hit the bar. So it could have been 4-0 and properly game over. That was probably where Emerson Royale's value went back up again by €1 million or whatever it is.
Stop telling them, bro.
Yeah, I know. But he's at the bar. And to be fair to Emerson, just quickly on Emerson, he's playing as a centre-back because we've got no recognised centre-backs in the squad at the moment, apart from Radu, who's just joined up literally a day ago. Phillips was obviously injured today, or not feeling great. So he started with two again. I suppose unrecognised centre backs in a back four, and I thought his pressing was actually really good. He robbed the ball a few times in the first half. Certainly, he's obviously come on second half. He's crashed against the bar. But 2 in 2 minutes, Rick, what is happening? This starts sending shockwaves around Tottenham because we've seen this from last year. From their main man who came in at half time, I think they made 11 changes at half time. I'm going to butcher his name, but Iljutcenko, he's come off and scored 2 in 2 minutes. And all of a sudden, that 3-0 lead has been wiped out into just a 1-goal deficit. How were you feeling at that point, Rick? Thinking, oh, here we go. This is classic Spurs, or you know what, still a friendly.
No, for me again, of course you have that feeling because we've been here before where we've been in these situations where we've been ahead and then we've come out and we've started slow and they've been able to kind of gate crash us and kind of counter-attack on us. For me, at this stage in pre-season, I like a bit of a body blow. I like a bit of a, when you get a little bit too overconfident or like, oh, this is easy, to get a little kind of couple of jabs in the ribs just to keep you in the game, just to make you see that, you still got to keep your wits about you. The only thing that I can think of, bro, is that, those 2 quick goals were counterattacks. They had some, pacey guys taking the ball and they got in behind. I can only think that they switched off at that moment. Of course. Maybe it was tired brains. Maybe it was, okay, cool. The first one, a lot of the guys pushed up high, so it was an easy break. And then the second one was pretty similar, cross ball, and then they was in behind quickly. And then, like you said, we've got a makeshift back four going on. Obviously Porro was there, but you've got a makeshift back four going on. And so there is going to be times of confusion. There is going to be times when they get in behind, and those that are more experienced can kind of use the inexperience of that back line against us. But when you look at kind of a makeshift back four or makeshift team, when it's like that, we had many of those last year when we was stripped down. The positive is that they continue to play the same football, and they went to go again in the same vein. Like Tim was mentioning there about that team talk, about next phase. Don't worry about it, next phase. Okay, they got caught quickly, but they went back to next phase. And that's where I look at. That's, they didn't stop going forward. We didn't drop back. We didn't go into 2 blocks of 4. We didn't go, all right, cool, let's hold it. We didn't panic, because that's been a part of our game as well. That's when the team hasn't been told. How many managers have said it? I have not told them to sit back. They've done that themselves. And then players have come out and say, I don't know why we sat back. We should have carried on playing the game that we were playing.
Almost, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I do think that they were tired minds. Like you said, I do think there was a few tired legs, tired minds. I think this happened on the 54th and 56 minutes, right? So you're basically an hour into the game, aren't you?
Yeah, but Lee, you know what? Like, Jace mentioned it as well about the tiredness. You look at the players that came off the bench. Whenever they came off the bench, bruv, they were out on their feet. They were tops off. They were sitting on the floor. They've got their towels. They've got water. They are out of it. That heat, the humidity, or whatever it is, or that effort, it was taken out of them. They left everything on there. So there is going to be points. I know, I see it. There is going to be points where they are going to dip. But what is really good about what the management and what we're doing right now is that, that kind of SAS type of mentality. I don't know if anybody's watched the show on Channel 4, SAS, or seen any kind of like training videos. But the one thing that
Ricky, you've done Dance on Ice. Surely that's the next show. That's the next show.
No, I mean, we'll talk about that later. But the one thing that they do is when you think that you've got no more, they push you, right? You've still got 10 miles on this run, but you're out of it. You're breathing and you're heavy and you're gone and you're carrying the bag, and they push you. Those staff sergeants, they push you and push you and push you to places that you've never been before. Push you after your body and your mind. Well, your mind has said, "No, I've got to rest." They continue to push you. So being able to do that today in that heat, with that intensity, they kept pushing them past the point that they could go, which is going to see them in good stead come the season when they're feeling points like that. When the game starts stacking up with Europe and the cup game starts stacking up, do you know what I mean? It's going to see them.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with you. I think you make some really good points there on that. Look, what we are going to do, we're going to go for our first break of the show. It is our first break. Nice one, Ricky. I know you're watching this back. I've got the breaks in there. We're going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners on audio. Thank you so much. Everybody's watching. We've got over nearly 3,000 of you watching live across all of our social media channels, which is absolutely insane on a Wednesday evening when you've got the crazy train driver. We are joined by the wonderful Jason, the Oracle McGovern, as he was known from years and years back. We've got the wonderful Tim Winstone, who sorted out his mics, and he might give us a little bit of a sing-song a bit later on from Spurs Song Sheets. And we've got the absolutely epic Ricky J. Norwood in the house. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody, for your support. Really, really appreciate all of your support. Now, look, it was a back and forth game, but it wasn't until the 66th minute that Tottenham then increased their lead to 4. Fans' favourite, the wonderful Timo Werner, the guy that everybody wanted to sign. Of course, I'm being a bit sarcastic. I don't have a problem with it per se, but many do, including our illustrious boss. But look, fans' favourite, Timo Werner, put a great cross into the box, which was finished and turned home by Will Lankshear, another one of the youngsters, 19 years old. And again, he's been very, very impressive. I think he's been really impressive on this tour so far. We've talked a little bit about the youth. Do you think, Jace, coming over to you, that Lankshear, I mean, we were speaking to John from Lily White Rose, one of our own, amazing guy, knows absolutely everything about the academy, wasn't we, off air earlier? And he was sort of saying that it'd be very interesting to see what happens with Will if somebody comes in for him, if it goes out on loan. What's your viewpoint? I mean, he's definitely feels like, and in John's view as well, that he's jumped ahead of the likes of Valise and Scarlett. What's your view on Will Lankshear?
Just, if I can, first of all, just want to go back to Emerson Royal. If we relate his scenario now to ourselves, he's going into work every day knowing his employer doesn't really want him. So, you know, when we all go into work tomorrow, that's a horrible feeling, isn't it? And they're in a physical job. So he thinks, well, Tottenham don't really want me. He's seen another right back starting to push him, and he probably thinks, you know, the fans all want this right back to take my place as well. So I'm dropping further down the pecking order. He's probably been told by the club, look, if the offer comes that we reach, you can leave. So you're effectively being served notice. Like I say, any of us go to work under those circumstances, we're not going to be fully tuned into our job, are we? And then because it's a physical job, he thinks if I go flying into a tackle and bust a knee ligament or break a leg, then not only have I'm not wanted here, I mean, I'm then losing 6 months of time and I can't get a move to another club. So, you know, under those circumstances, I think it's very difficult to ask too much of a player like that to give his all for the club at the moment. And, you know, if he's half-hearted or something, like, which he isn't, I think he's actually in the games he's played, yes, he's made mistakes. But I don't think you could accuse him of not giving it his all. But it must be difficult for him to be in that process. I know he's gone on the trip, so it would make you think that they're nowhere near receiving a proper offer. But just from the mental point of view, he must feel a bit of an outsider in that group that is looking around thinking, well, they want you and they want you and they want you, but actually they want to see the back of me. And that's hard to do from a human perspective, whatever our job is.
It's true. It's a really good point.
It is. I think the good thing with the goal was, as you said, it was. I think you saw why Ange does like Timo Werner, in that he got the ball in that position and looks to go past his fullback. He doesn't look to check inside and bend one in. He wants to get to the byline and score the goal. And when we've seen the plan A goal, we know what plan A is. Get to that byline and feed it across. So I think that's why he likes Timo Werner so much more than perhaps the rest of us do. But am I getting an echo there?
Nah, it's from Tim. Tim's got some issues around his tech, so I've just muted it.
But the important thing from Lankshear's point of view and his understanding of the game is not to be too anxious to get in there that you push yourself into that offside position and then you get in front of the ball. So that's the important thing. His timing of his run, and if you've got confidence that your player out wide is going to beat his man, that becomes a lot easier to make that time in a run. It's when you're not quite sure what he's doing and you've got an Adama Traore type player that you don't expect the ball to come to you, or it's going to be in the air, or it's going to be on the floor, or it's going to come in at 100 mile an hour or 5 mile an hour. You know, he just trusts the player to deliver the ball, and then you can make your run accordingly. So, yeah, it's a bright future for these players, for sure.
Brilliant. I mean, look, it was certainly a tale of two halves. Obviously, we're reviewing now the second half. Still a lot of goals being conceded now. That's 6 goals conceded in the last 3 games. It seems like we're quite susceptible, really, to counter-attacking goals. That's maybe because we're pushing up, and then we're getting done on the counter. And some will say, and some have already said that in the comments as well, that, if we had our, Mickey van der Ven, Romero on the side, they wouldn't be conceded. But, Tim, coming over to you, how concerned are you, before we get into Ange's comments, how concerned are you with the defensive actions? I mean, I think Kev G mentioned earlier that we've seen this before, haven't we? It doesn't seem like it's changed much from last season, which has to be a worry, doesn't it, Tim?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, I was going to agree with the comments, really. I mean, you look at the goals we conceded. Ben Davies has sorted out. Yeah, we just got caught. I feel like you said, we're trying to create chances. I think Udogie and Van der Ven, Romero, and that. I just can't see us. I mean, the amount of times that Van der Ven got us out of trouble But then I guess you got to counter that with the level of opposition. So, a counter attack against the K-League All-Stars against, Man City is going to be a different kettle of fish, isn't it? So there is concerns there. I mean, I would hope, again, being the optimist that I am, that, you get our back four back in there or your back three. We'll be able to deal with that situation. And it is more, like Jay said earlier, it's playing in sapping heat. There's a lot of external factors going on here. I think, again, we're not going to know until that first game, are we? Until Ange's belted them to press on, and then do we get caught and pay the price for it? It's going to be interesting to see. But you're right. There's concerns, but as a spectacle to watch, I'd much rather watch what I'm watching than previous years. So I'd take this for, if it's a development phase for 2-3 years to get our backline sorted to stop this thing happening. I'd personally take it, because what I'm seeing going forward is impressive, man.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, presser reaction. So this is Ange after the game. He was asked, what are your overall thoughts on the match tonight? And Ange said, I thought it was a decent game, obviously with the conditions. And we've been training pretty hard so far. So we didn't probably look as sharp as we should have been. But within that, I thought the players still gave everything and some very good passages of play. The game was very open at the end. I think very stretched. And as I said, the conditions were very difficult at times for the players, but they never stopped. They kept trying to play, and I think overall we were better for the game. He was also asked in the press conference today, and you started Kulusevski in a more of a number 9 position. Could we expect him to play more like that in the season when it begins? And I said, well, look, it's the beauty of Decky, is that he can play a number of positions. I mean, he played on the wing for us last year, but was also had some games in central areas. And I think he's been really good this pre-season. With Richie being injured, we don't really have another number 9 there. And he's done a really good job for us so far. He's a clever footballer, He was involved in goals tonight, apart from scoring. And he's doing really, really well. For us, the fact that he can play 2 or 3 positions, I think, is going to be important. And that's quite interesting, actually. Just Jace, coming over to you. I did mention in our group, actually, I think I put it out on Twitter saying that, or X saying, Bango's us signing a number 9. And it was a bit tongue in cheek, right? People that follow, you got to understand, like, most of the stuff I do is just having a bit of a laugh and stuff. But we did have a bit of a laugh in the group. Jace, what do you think Decky's position is going to be in the coming season? I mean, can you see him starting as a number 9 against Leicester?
Right now, I wouldn't rule it out, but it depends what happens over the course of the next few weeks. And as you said, I think he himself has said he still thinks he'll play, or indicated that he still thinks he'll play wide at some stage this season. But he's one of those senior players that has really impressed in each of the games. And you can't see a scenario where even if we brought in a genuine striker, he could compete with Maddison for that number 10 role. So, and I'm not so sure. There was times last year where you thought of him as a wide player. You could see why Tottenham would think maybe it's time to move on from Decky. But we're certainly seeing him centrally. I think his future is far more centrally than it is as a wide player. I think it's just because he hasn't got that lightning pace. He's very, very predictable out wide. So I do want to kind of see him more centrally, and maybe he is genuine competition for Maddison in that number 10 role. But certainly I think at the moment, with Richarlison still not fit and with no new striker seemingly coming in, it wouldn't surprise me if he plays in that position against Leicester. And, he did it at Sheffield on the last day, he scored. Okay, Sheffield United, we know, were relegated and were a poor side. But I definitely think that the opportunity to play him, and the more minutes he gets in that role, the better it is for him, and the more likely it is that he will start in that role.
Yeah, it's interesting. Ricky, coming over to you, I mean, your thoughts on that? Because, there was a wider picture to that as well, isn't there? I mean, Kev G says there, Lankshear will go on loan. We've already talked about or mentioned on the show, the likes of Scarlett not getting an opportunity, and also Valise as well, who was on loan at Seville last year, which was a complete waste of time because they use it as a bargaining chip for politics by all accounts inside the club. And, Richie's, Richie, right? He's injured. Like when he came back after his back injuries last season, I think he scored 12 with 9 or something. It's a really good return and some really good plays, some excellent headers, whatever. But you know, the previous season before that, he scored 2 goals. I think they were against in the Champions League, weren't they? In the same game against Marseille. So where do you sit with this whole Harry Kane's gone? We've got Richarlison in 60 million quid. He's not doing it. You know, we've now got a number 9 to fill, and now Decky's saying, "Hang on, maybe I can do this." What's your thoughts on that, Ricky?
With Decky, if we didn't know that he played on the wing, or if we just signed him, all of the things that he's been doing up there have been good. They've been positive. You know, he scored a goal. He set up, I think, 2 or 3. The flicks and the tricks and the hold-up play has all been good. What I think is great with Decky is that he is versatile, and I think that he can fill in for us at times if need be, and he can play in various, and he's comfortable playing in various different positions. I think it's probably going to be like in that midfield more than up front. I do believe that the club are going to sign a number 9. With Richie, it's really, really difficult because you love him. You love him as a person. You love him as a man. You love you know, you can see that he tries, and you can see that he's gone through some stuff as well that has affected him and his game. And we all want to see him do well. But you know, like you just said there, Lee, you know, the first year, 2 goals in the Champions League, good goals, important goals, but 2 goals in the Champions League. And then last year, I don't know what the total was, but I know it didn't hit 13. And he's never been able to hit 13 goals.
Oh, we got 12. That's right. I think it was 11 and 4. I think it was 15 goal and assists, 4 assists and 11 goals.
Right. So, like, you know, but there is a lot more to come from Richarlison. We haven't seen him consistently. So this is going to be a big, massive season. If he does stay, it's going to be a massive season for him to kind of, you know, not only deliver for us fans, but for himself as well, because he's gone through it. I mean, mentally and in his heart, he needs to do well, whatever happens, you know. But we definitely can't rely on him to stay injury-free all season. So we're going to need another number 9, regardless, up there to not only rotate, but to compete with. And then when one is injured, we've got another one there, and maybe a youngster or a Kulu to come in for an option off the bench, or to swing around. The kind of genius of Decky is that you can flip him around. When you want a bit of unpredictability, you can start him on the wing, and then you can drop him into midfield in the same game. Then you can drop him as a number 10 or an attacker up there, and that confuses defenses. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for chaos. You know, when we talk about like conceding goals and stuff like that, we are going to be that team. We're going to be that team that score 4 and concede 2. We're going to be that team. It's going to happen. But like Tim was saying there, I prefer us going forward and doing that than to holding on to a 0-0 or 1-0 the way that we've seen it in previous seasons. We have to believe in something. We have to back something. And, you know, with somebody like Decky, he can fit in various different positions and cause chaos wherever Ange wants him to do that. There's so much more to come from Kulusevski. And he wants to achieve it. You can see his determination. You can see his want and will. And you can see that he loves the club as well, and he loves being here. So he wants to go out there and achieve. He knows he had an okay season last year, but he knows it wasn't the greatest. So he wants to go out there and achieve too.
Yeah, I do quite like Decky's little flicks. I mean, Jace, you said on the previous show, didn't you, that we did about his kind of becoming a trademark flick, and you saw that in there again today. There seems to be a bit of more sharpness about. He seems. Do you know what it feels like to me? I'm not saying this is true, but it feels like to me that he's more comfortable in the centre. And I know he spoke about that before, but sticking him out wide, it doesn't feel as right. He had a fantastic 6 months under Antonio Conte when he first come to the football club. But actually, even when you listen to some of Decky's interviews, even during that period, he still classes himself as coming inside. Like he still classes himself of not being a winger, but actually being inside, which is quite interesting, isn't it, Jace?
Yeah, and I get the impression as well that he really wants to show and convince people that that's his better position as well. That, you know, I think, like I said, I saw a comment from him today, and he said, "I'm happy to play here, but talking about, you know, going back, I know that I may not get the chance to play here as much," or something like that. But I get the impression that he wants to show Ange, look, this is my role. I'm better than Maddison in this role, in his mind. And I think he's determined to show that, his confidence to try those types of things. And he's made a big impression this pre-season for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I think as well, it's like I say, his lack of pace is a problem wide, but now you're getting the benefit of his strength as a central player as well. And I think, you know, he's able to use his body and that a lot better, and his technical abilities are coming through a lot better because he's playing centrally. So, you know, I've liked him centrally for sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, Del, you make there about, you know, you don't like how much time we spend explaining about putting square pegs in round holes. But when we're talking about Decky, I actually think Decky's been a square peg in a round hole out wide. And I actually think now he's a round peg in a round hole. That's, I think, where we're coming from. Tim, coming over to you. It's gone back and forth in the game. You know, we're 4-2 up, and then, you know what, in the 81st, 82nd minute, Oberdan pulled one back for them. And Austin has made some good saves. I know he was a bit shaky on some crosses. Yeah. I think when he first come out in the second half, he gave the ball away under pressure, and that was one of your classic, keep doing what you're doing, otherwise you'll never do it. But he made 3, I think, in my blue book, outstanding saves, very good, strong saves. And he made another fine save. Maddison come on, a curling effort just wide. Then he's at the outside of the post as well. The game did end up ending 3-4 or 4-3 to Spurs. Overall, what would you say, Tim, the standouts are? The performance you talked about, kind of Sonny and stuff. Maddison is getting quite a bit of flack in the chat, and maybe rightly so. He didn't have a full, what did you get, full 45, 48 minutes today. What's your thoughts on Maddison at the moment, Tim?
So I think he's a sort of player that just needs games. So you saw the start of last season. It was amazing at the start, but he's just getting a good run of games. And obviously pre-season, it's been a bit part. So you sort of come on for halves here and there. I think he's a momentum player personally. So I haven't got any concerns. I will have if he starts the season poorly, because obviously he came back from injury. It wasn't great when he came back. Like you could argue, a lot of our sort of standout players from the first part of the season weren't great. I don't know. I'm on the fence really. I know a lot of Leicester fans have sort of said he's sort of in and out, isn't he? A form. He can go missing in games. I just think he started the season so well last year. I just hope we get that Maddison back with more preseason games to come. Maybe when we get towards the end of preseason, we'll start shaping the team like the first 11. And then he'll get more of a run out, or maybe he's not in Ange's thoughts for a first 11 at the moment. I don't know, but I haven't got any major concerns. He's a class player. I just think he just that sort of player that needs momentum, needs to build his confidence, and then when he's on fire, I mean, he's unplayable, isn't he? He was unplayable for those first few games before the sort of injury at Chelsea. That's kind of where I am with it.
And that I suppose that's the worry. A little bit like with Viggo Bentancur, a little bit. Mickey van der Ven not so much, because he just literally walked back into the team, is back to normal. But Bentancur's struggled since that big injury. Is Maddison worrying about this injury? Is he? I don't know. I don't want to report anything that isn't true in the sense of, you know, injury wise. But you put 2 and 2 together, sometimes you come up with 5, don't we? But he has not looked the same player, is probably fair to say, since he got that injury. Rick, I just want to get your thoughts on Maddison, because surely this is literally set up for him, isn't it? It's literally set up for him to come on the first game, starting vice captain, first game of the season, away at your former club, to come and put one of them trademark Maddison top bins to score the winner. It's set up for, isn't it, Rick? Or is it because it's Spurs, it ain't going to happen?
Nah, come on. I mean, if Costa was on, he'd be telling you Winks is guaranteed to score. So
Winks is guaranteed. Yeah, I'm with Costa on that
one. big up to Costa. Miss you, bro. I'm sending you big love. Yeah, like, look, it is set up. It is set up for Maddison. And you know, I think he is still feeling the frustrations of not getting up to speed towards the end of the season, and the performances that he had at the end of the season, and then missing out on the England squad. I think these things have hit him in his stomach a little bit. And I think a lot of the time he's overly trying. He's trying too hard to try and make something happen. It's not coming naturally. He's not doing his natural game right now. That's why you're only seeing 5 minutes of his natural game. But I kind of got this feeling that he is going to be super fired up, and he is going to be determined to show Tottenham, the fans, the league, and the new England manager, that he is worth a place in that squad there, and he is a player to be watched and to be excited about, you know. So I do think it's set up for him to go out there and have a great game against Leicester. But we do have to manage these minutes again. You know, thank goodness he's had a bit of rest over the summer. And now it's like building him back up. And that's not only...
I want you to come back on this, Rick, but do you think that's hurt him as well, not being picked for England? Because, you know, I saw, I don't know if anyone else did, but I saw an interview with Jack Grealish this week, and he was very open about how much it was distraught, him not being picked. He thought he should have gone. It was the hardest moment in his career. And obviously you've seen, if you haven't gone on IG, but you've seen the pictures of Grealish and Maddison together in the summer and that type of stuff. I mean, you know, they all muck about with each other. Do you know what I mean? They're all each other's muckers and whatever. Like, did you think that's affected him as well? Like, maybe he's trying too hard. Like, with the outside. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm saying, Lee. You know, he is. I think it, because he loves football as well. I think it really took an effect on him. And then you got to look at his season. The way that he started, he set the league on fire. He was, you know, he was running that tempo game. He was the lock picker that we've all been asking for, not just with the goals that he was contributing with, but his passes and the way that he confused teams. And the system was set up when we was playing that football, and he was, you know, an important part of that. And he was nailed on to go to the Euros after those 10 games. But then, you know, obviously he's had the injuries and then the comeback, and then he didn't get up to speed, and then he was trying too hard, and then he's missed out. And I think it has really affected him. And I think that it affected the ego a little bit, and it's affected his emotion with it. And that's because he loves football so much, and he feels that he should be a part of it, you know. So it's now about kind of breathing and knowing that you're back to Tottenham Hotspur, and knowing that you're going to get opportunities to do that. But he might be feeling a bit of the pressure as well, not only on himself to go out there and perform and to show something, but knowing that we've got potentially another player coming through the door that is going to challenge for his position, you know. So he's going to have to deal with that pressure as well. Tim was saying he needs momentum and stuff like that. Well, how's he going to feel if, let's say, for example, and Jace, don't pull your hair out anymore, bruv. But so just say, for instance, that we've got Eze in the midfield, you know, and Maddison's on the bench. How is he going to deal with that? Is he going to come on emotional? Is he going to come on a bit sassy? Is he going to come on a bit hurt? Or is he going to come on to make that impact? Is he going to go for it? You know, how is he going to deal with that type of pressure too? So it's going to be this is a really important time for Madders. And, you know, he's got a lot to shake off of him, but he will do it during this preseason. I just think at this moment in time, he's just a bit too anxious and a bit too eager to show everybody that they were wrong. As soon as that calms down a little bit, his natural game will start coming through, and then we'll all see the Maddison that we loved at the beginning of the season last year.
Fantastic. I mean, just to finish off Ange's press conference before we go for our final break of the show, Ange was asked, you've signed Min-hyuk, and this was the first time that you saw him play live, which is quite surreal, really, isn't it? What did you make of him? Ange said, I was focused on our players, so I wasn't really following the opposition players. When he comes in January, we'll have plenty of time to look at him. I think what's important now is that we've made the announcement and he concentrates on his football club here in Korea, finishes his season strong. He's had an outstanding season so far. And then when he gets to us, he'll have plenty of time and plenty of opportunity to show us what he can do and help him with the process. Ange just was also asked about some injury updates, and he revealed that he's hoping Destiny, oh my days, I've missed this guy, Destiny Udogie could be involved for the Bayern Munich match at the weekend, which is absolutely brilliant news. And asked about Oliver Skip, he said, yeah, I think he'll be fine. It was just a knock. What we're going to do, we are going to go for our final break of the show for our listeners on audio. There's over 3,000 of you watching live across all of our channels here. Big love to all of you. Thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate it. We have the wonderful Tim Winstone with us. We've got the amazing Ricky Norwood, and of course the Oracle, Jason McGovern, which is absolutely fantastic in having on the show. What I want to do before we get into Tim to give us a little bit of a sing out, if you don't mind, Tim, it was nothing planned, just throwing it in there. You showing the guitar. I just want to talk about transfers, and I know Jason's probably going to leave them and turn the light off, but Jason's got some pretty hard-hitting stats actually about some of our transfer targets. So, Jason, I do want to come over to you before bringing the other two in and really start with that hard-hitting transfer. Is that, look, it's really difficult at the moment. And, you know, even for somebody who I think I'm pretty, like my glass is always half full rather than half empty in everything that I do. I'm really positive. But even I am now sitting there thinking, Ange wanted signings coming in the door early, and they're not coming in, and it's been a while now. You know, it's not about the transfer window finishing in 4 weeks. You've still got 4 weeks of the bloody thing open. But the fact of the matter is, I'm pretty certain that we can all pick off starting 11 against Leicester, and it's not going to have a new first team signing in it, and that's a bit of a worry to me. So, Jason, just wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the players that we've been linked with. And it won't go away. And the first one I really want to talk about is this guy, Pedro Neto. Now, on the face of it, seems like a fantastic signing if he was to come to the football club. And there's nothing suggesting that he's anywhere close to. But, Jace, you've got some statistics on this guy that are a little bit worrying, to be fair.
Well, I think I said it on Saturday. He's played in the last 3 years for Wolves. He's been on the pitch for just 27% of the minutes they've played. And if this is a player that's going to cost you 50 million, and we're constantly complaining about Richarlison being injured and Ryan Sessegnon being injured and, you know, worried about Maddison injury, we're talking about spending 50 million pounds on somebody that's been on the pitch for just over a quarter of game time in 3 years. Not just the last 6 months, 3 seasons. He's been on the pitch for 27% of Wolves' minutes. So for me, it's a no-go. I would just instantly rule. I'd look at it and think, sorry, we can't be spending a big chunk of our budget on a player that's going to be available for 27% of the minutes. It's not me judging Neto as a player, but like I say, when we're talking about the number of players that we've got injuries, and there's a player that we're going to buy who's available for a quarter of the time, it's just, for me, that's a no-go. You know, I mean, when you look at the big players that we've had, the ones that have really left an impression, like Sonny, like Kane, who had those injury problems, but over the past 3 years, the last 3 years with us, he barely missed a game. You need players that you can call upon, that you're thinking, when we go to Anfield, when we go here, when we're playing cup games, there's a fair bet he's fit. You know, you look at Sonny's injury record, he gets an injury a season, but he only misses 3 or 4 games, and then he's back. He's off the planes from Asia, back on a Saturday lunchtime. You can genuinely count on those players. And for me, Neto's one that I just think we could, I mean, to me, we could sign Neto tomorrow, but there's no chance I have no idea he'll be fit for Leicester. No idea. Or if he is, he might be fit for 25 minutes of it. So, you know, I get the links with Ivan Toney. I get the links with Eze, because they're players you feel can be on the pitch. But with Neto, it's like I say, it's not his ability. I've seen lots of Neto. He was excellent at Tottenham last year for Wolves. When you see him on the pitch, he's an excellent player, but he's just not on the pitch enough.
Yeah, it's a massive point, and it's one that will.
For the price you're going to pay. Definitely if he's a £20 million player, but at 50 odd million quid, you must be nuts to pay that.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be classic Spurs. Ricky coming over to you, it'd be classic Spurs, wouldn't it? They're going to shell out 40, 50 million quid on Neto, and then he's injured completely. It is classic Spurs, and we've been down that route before. I mean, Jason brought him up as well as I think this guy is an absolute baller. I think it's a no-brainer for Spurs, in my humble opinion, to try and get this guy in. What's your thoughts? It has gone a little bit quiet into some of these talks, and we are hoping, all of us are hoping and praying that, you know, the club have got these signings that Paul mentioned about that are lined up and they're ready to go. Rick, what's your thoughts on Eze and also anyone else coming into the club?
For me, I think the reasons that it's gone quiet is because we're gearing up for I think at least 2, but we're gearing up for like 2 diamonds. We're gearing up for 2 cherries on that cake. Do you know what I mean?
And is this the cherry? Is this the guy? Is this one of the guys, Rick?
I think that's a no-brainer, just like you said, mate. I think Eze's a no-brainer. You know, on the wing, he's dangerous. You know, he's unpredictable. He causes chaos like Ange likes. You know, he does give that he gives us that kind of stardust that we need. You know, that kind of just somebody who's a bit improvisational within the space. You know, so I think that he brings so much to the team if he signs. But you know, someone like that is going to be expensive. They take a little bit. Sometimes these deals take a little bit longer. Sometimes it's not just about the release clause. Sometimes it's about the pay structure. Sometimes it's about getting your replacement in. I mean, you know, Palace are linked with Ismail Sarr from Marseille, right? But he hasn't signed, sealed, and delivered yet. You know, he hasn't come into the club yet. He might get hijacked lastminute.com, and then Palace are in a bind. You know, they've already lost Elise. So there's loads of different politics that happen with signings. If you want to talk about Tony at Brentford, well, their new striker has just gone down injured and he's not going to be in until the new year. You know, so they might be a bit reluctant now to even think about letting Tony go. They might go, you know, let's keep him for a year and let him go on a free because that's a no-brainer for them. So within transfers, there are many politics, bro, and there are many different layers that we haven't got a clue about. That, you know, Fabrizio Romano ain't going to tell us about, and that the Oracle Jace as well. he probably don't know either. There's layers and there's things that we don't know about. But I do think they're gearing up for 2 big marquee, top talented players, and if that's Eze and Tony, I think that could be phenomenal for our side going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that bit. I mean, I think the thing that I disagree, I'm worried about, Tim, bringing you in and coming over to you, is that we've seen this. We're getting some feedback again from you, Tim. Sorry, buddy.
Hold on.
You have to sort that out before I bring you back in. But just you know, we've seen this before, and this is the reality of this football club. Like, we have seen this before, that we're hoping and we're thinking, but coupling that, Jason, just bringing you in while Tim's sorting out his tech issues, we have seen a huge change in our recruitment policy over the last kind of 3-4 seasons, or 4-5 windows. So I'm torn between, have we turned the corner and have we changed a bit, or have we just gone back to Levy and the board are going, our result, Ange wants to work with young players. We've got a right touch here. We don't need to bring anyone else in. Or you know, I can't believe that if we've gone in for a Tony, for example, that he's going to turn us down. You've even had his agents pushing out some stuff in the over the socials and in the media, sort of muting now about Spurs, and you know, he'd be interested. So just while Tim's coming back on, Jace, over to you on that. Do you think that we've changed, we've turned a different leaf, or do you think this is just same old Levy and same old Tottenham?
I think it's a bit of everything. You know, I remember saying as we were going into the summer, I think part of the problem is it's hard for us to sign grade A, real grade A players that the other big clubs want. That they're not going to come to Tottenham as their first choice. They're just not. They want to go to a club that's a win now club. They know that, you know, your Bayern Munichs, the PSGs.
Oh, we lost Jace.
I think we have lost Jace.
We've lost Jace. We're losing Tim. We're losing Jace. Tim, bringing you back in. Let's just test your mic there, bud.
Am I okay now? Yeah.
Yeah, you're good, mate. So yeah, coming over to you on that question, why I've just lost Jace. We'll get Jace back on in a second. But you know, is this same old Tottenham, or have we reverted back? So that's what I was saying to you before when you just sorting out your tech issues was, you know, the last kind of 4 or 5 windows has actually been pretty good.
Yeah, the thing I'm okay with, if I'm honest, is if you listen to Ange's presser, he's not a yes man, Ange. I think Ali Gold said this in his last update. If there wasn't players lined up, so I agree with Ricky, by the way. So I think he'd be a bit like Poch a few years ago when we signed Ndombele and he was just making it very obvious he wasn't happy. I just think he'd be fuming if we didn't have anything lined up or have plans in the ether. So I do agree. I mean, I'm very concerned because the further we get on in the window, you then start looking. If you don't get your first targets, you've got to go for second targets, and it gets to the desperation stage, and it's just an absolute shit show, isn't it?
But that's what with you, Tim, on that. That's what I'm trying to work out, and this is what so drives me round the bend, and that's why Jason Maddison as well. Is that we don't know. That's the thing. We just make these assumptions. All of us do it. I do it. I'm not blaming anyone. I do this. I'm at home and I think, why is Arsenal signing Calafiori for 42 million quid? Why aren't we going in for not necessarily him, although he would have been nice, but where's our signings? And then we go, right, they're not doing, but then you try and defend what's been going on, but then you look at the history. John George, bless him, said earlier that the last one time Spurs won a trophy was in 2008, and that's when I won The Apprentice. And you bang on the money. It was a good year, that great year. But when is it going to change? Like, what is the scenario there, Tim? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think
remember the dynamics of football have changed a lot, haven't they? In that time, I know I'm not defending it. I'm just saying, you had the Euros, which has obviously delayed everything for a few weeks because players are still on their breaks. I think the FFP's got a massive thing to do with it, and I think, if I'm honest, we're doing the right thing. We're going youth, we're bringing in young talent that's going to help our FFP. The counter argument to that is our FFP is as good as anyone out there, isn't it? By an absolute mile. I mean, we could sign £200-300 million players and not have a problem. So I don't know. I'm trying to go optimistic. I'm trying to keep positive that it's going to get them done. The problem is, what I don't want is players to come in 2 days before the end. Look what happened with Harry Kane last year. The whole pre-season was just derailed because Harry Kane leaving. He leaves on the eve of the season, so it couldn't get any worse than that. At least we surely can't get any worse than that.
I mean, I don't think. Amazing. Go on, Jason.
I think we could go and get Tony now. But I don't think Tony's Tottenham's first choice. That's just my personal thoughts. I don't think Tony's Tottenham's number one choice. And we're constantly saying we don't want to settle for second best and we want to back Ange. Well, if Ange is only 50-50 on Tony, we all tell him, go and sign Tony, go and sign Tony. For instance, I think, and like I say, this is just a gut feeling, I think Ange would be more impressed to go and get Alvarez from Manchester City.
Yeah, it's a great shout.
So if Alvarez is your number one choice, why would you go and spend the money that you're going to need to get him on Ivan Toney just to get one across the line now? Because we need one in right now. That's the way up that you do. And if you sign an Ivan Toney, who's your number two choice, and the fans are all celebrating, Christ, we've gone and bought a top striker, but Ange actually wanted Alvarez, then you haven't backed the manager, have you? You haven't. So it's a question of, I saw Pep talking about Alvarez yesterday, and that he wants to leave, he wants to play more minutes and things like that. I didn't say he wants to leave, but he needs to sit down and talk to him when he comes back. Hopefully Romero's been in his ear. Like I say, my gut feeling, I've not seen links to it. I'm not saying, that I'm never an ITK on transfers, but I think Alvarez is the type of signing that Ange would want more than an Ivan Toney. But an Alvarez...
Sorry to cut in, Chase. Do you not think, because I've got absolute trust in Ange?
Alvarez is going to need a lot of persuading, and an Alvarez probably does want to sit down with Pep. And if Pep says to him, OK, I'm going to start you in 30 Premier League games, he won't leave Manchester City. So you have to kind of wait for that. Or you do like people want, you say, bollocks to that, I'm going to go and make a signing because it's the end of July and we have to get one in tomorrow. So I'm going to sign my number two target. But the problem is, if Alvarez picks the phone up in 2 weeks and says, OK, we've had the discussion, I'm ready to come, and you've gone and signed Toney, what do you do? What do you do? You're then stuffed, aren't you? So it's to me, I'm not trying to defend Daniel Levy, because like I say, if Ivan Toney was your number one target, there's no excuse, because we know the other 5 clubs aren't in for him. We know Brentford had signed a replacement, so they were in their mind thinking, and if Toney was number one, we should have triggered that deal already. So that to me is a mistake.
Yeah,
but that's why I think Toney is not number one choice.
And that might be the case, but that's why I'm trying to figure out, and this is what does everyone's head in, is that if Tony is the number one, and the one major reason why we haven't gone for him right now is because the longer we wait, the cheaper that deal will be.
That's
like
right.
that's the reality, and that is the Daniel Levy way, the Tottenham way, and that is why so many of us.
Problem. Absolutely.
Because we could have had him in and done a pre-season if, of course, he is the number one. But we don't know that. What we do know, and this is fact, what we do know is Ange Postecoglou said that they have had a plan since probably 4 or 5 months before the end of last season as to what they need to do in this summer window. Now, that might mean, right, so that's factual, but what that might mean is they've got 2 or 3 positions they need to strengthen, but they might not know who they are right then and there. And they still might not know, or they've got their targets and they're not quite sure. Or it could mean they want Eze, Tony, and Neto, right? Names, I don't know, but it could be them 3. And that's the thing. When agents put it out in the media, when football clubs like Spurs, they will leak certain things, or other football clubs, or whatever it might be, we start seeing all of these names. I mean, the amount of pictures I've got that I could show you right now of all the people we've been linked with is absolutely insane. And that's what drives everyone's mad. When Ricky, just getting your view on that, let's just come back round to you on that side of things. I'm pretty convinced that we're going to go for somebody like a Jonathan David, because Jonathan David ticks a lot of boxes for the club. He's young, he's got some outstanding statistics, he's cheap, he's in his last year of his contract. He plays across the front 3, so you can play left, you play right, you can play number 9. He's not a full-on number 9 like most want and most need, like an Ivan Toney or Girakes. But I'm convinced that this guy is the one that Spurs will kind of go after because of that. And that's just my opinion. I don't know anything different. Rick, what's your views on do we get any more? You said earlier maybe them 2. Did you think we'd get them 2 over the line, the big ones?
For me, I don't think that's the end of our business. If I'm honest, I think we get 2 big ones, but then there's also other positions that we need covering. We need a left back, for instance, to cover your doggy. At a minimum. We were talking about a 4th choice centre back as well. So I just think that there's 2 big ones coming. If we was to sign Eze and Tony tomorrow, they still wouldn't be in training. Just sidebar, like just to calm it. They still would not be in training. They would still be on this holiday and not be able to be there with the boys. And the only thing that would change is that it would be announced and they would do the signing video. Do you know what I mean? That's probably the only thing that would change, and we would all feel a lot calmer because it's done and dusted.
Yeah,
but if we was to pay for them right now, they wouldn't be in training tomorrow. Also, I think Jace has a great point that in the sense that if we are after some big people, then these things are going to take a little bit longer. You know what I mean? Like, what happens if there is an Alvarez? And like he just said there, it's a great example that a week later, he's like, yeah, you know what, maybe. So, there is a plan in place. I think they are trusting Ange and they are backing him. I think that he made a comment the other day about somebody asked him about transfers, and I think it was in Japan, and he was like, I'm not panicking. Us targets are still there. They're still identified. What's really important is for us not to panic and not to jump to the number 2 and the number 3 signing. Stay clear, stay focused, and go and get the ones that you want. I think that's encouraging. I totally get the fear and I totally get the anxiety about transfer windows past. But ever since Paratici and then Langer, but Paratici came in, but he had the vision. So he had a 5-year plan. And you could see that when he was buying the likes of Udogie and Sarr and then sending them back out on loan and stuff, there was a 5-year plan. And we were kind of anxious at those points going, but we need first team players. But we can see how these things have come to fruit over the time since they've come back into the side and since they've taken their opportunity. They're buying the right players, the right profile, the right characters at the right times. Okay, so if you look at Van der Ven, somebody that we never knew about, you look at Vicario, somebody that we never knew about, they came in bed fruit. When we talk about negotiations and waiting for the cheap, waiting for the price to lower, again, a great example is Raya from last year at Brentford. Somebody for 40 million, we was all going, pay the money, Premier League proven. We can see what he can do for us. He's that type of a goalkeeper that plays with their feet, that is good, in goal itself. Pay the money. What happened? He ended up going out on loan and then being signed by them lot for 23, 24 mil. It was nowhere near the 40. So sometimes in negotiations, there does need to be a leeway. Yes, we've given it to Levy over the years, but I tell you what, the press give it to Levy. I never hear a story going how difficult, Man United's chairman or Man City's chairman. You never hear the difficulty come from those sides, and I'm sure that that's difficult too. But you'll always hear a story about Levy, which ends up infuriating us even more. So there's a lot we don't know about. And for me, when it comes down to transfers, that's why I'm numb with transfers. I used to be like everyone. I used to get frustrated. And I still do it, but I do it for fun. But I used to refresh the page every 5 minutes going, have we signed him? Have we signed him? Have we signed him? Have we signed him? Are we going to sign him? Are we going to sign him? We're going to sign him. And have that anxiety and have that frustration, especially when
you can get pills for that, Ricky. You can get pills for that.
But I'm trusting in this scouting system, and I'm trusting in the how they've identified players since Paratici has come in. Yes, there has been, i.e. Brian Hill. Yes, there has been some that hasn't really worked out, but the majority have. So if they're waiting for their right targets, I'm trusting them right now. And I believe that they will get the ones that they want through the door. And I feel that they have to. And I feel that they're going full guns to do it. I don't feel that they're looking for the cheaper option on Jonathan David. Of course,
I needed this, Rick. I needed this. I was a bit
Ricky, have you thought of have you thought of a career in politics, Ricky? Because you make sense of stuff. I mean, you should go to politics. You'll get rid of this nonsense and just go into politics, mate.
I'm gonna make Rayman's day now, because I am conscious of time. There you go. Get that one off your bingo card. I had to get that one in. We are going to get the Son song live and acoustic version from Tim playing us out. But before we do, just a couple of things to look forward to. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Just over nearly 4,000 of you now watching live. It's absolutely insane. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And whilst Ricky is smoking his cigar or whatever he's doing, sunning himself on his sun lounger, of course he won't be. He'll be running around after them beautiful boys that he's got and having a rest. We are working hard there, Rick. We are working hard there. Jason, we're coming.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in respect to Bayern on Saturday, Bayern have only flown out, I think, today. So Bayern don't get there because it's a 12-hour flight. So I don't expect Bayern to be anywhere near as up to speed with that heat and climate as Tottenham will be for Sunday. And the Bayern squad, Musiala has gone, Polinia has gone, Eric Dyer's obviously out there, Joshua Kimmich, Gnabry are there, but Leroy Sané, Kingsley Coman, Matthias de Ligt, Harry Kane, Upamecano, Alphonso Davies, Michael Elise, none of those have travelled. So even though we see the name of Bayern Munich, it's not a full-on Bayern Munich side until they come to probably the Tottenham Stadium, 2 weeks' time or whatever it is.
And that's fair enough, but also it's still we haven't yet got people travelling yet, like Mickey van der Ven and the Romero and the Udogi. So
and that backs up. But it backs up what Ricky's saying. If we signed Eze and Tony and that, they wouldn't be there.
They wouldn't be here anyway.
He's not gone with Bayern Munich.
Yeah, maybe, Jace, this one for you. As you know, maybe Leroy Sané hasn't gone with them because he's doing a cheeky medical at Hotspur away. Wouldn't that be lovely? Look, let's. I just want to say thank you so much for everybody joining us. Jason, you've been absolutely amazing as normal. Ricky, you are a superstar, and we are also going to get Tim. Couple of things that are up and coming. You mentioned Bayern Munich. We are back for the review on Bayern Munich, which kicks off, I think, Saturday lunchtime-ish. So we're going to put some socials out all over the socials, and we are back with an amazing transfer show with myself, with Matty Hayes, and the wonderful on Monday night. Okay, with Jason, you got the night off, so don't worry about that. Tim, take it away, my man. Thank you so much indeed. And for everybody watching and listening, you've been absolutely superb. We've been Last One on Spurs. Come on, you Spurs. Take it away, Tim.
Come on, you Spurs. This one's for Sonny after today and just been an absolute legend. Another right back form. He is always fighting. Our captain, number 7, 400, up and counting. He's with me, he's Sonny, part of our family. In your head, Son is flying, leading us with his face, and that smile on his face. At the lane, we're crying. He's in my head, Sonny. He's in my head, Sonny. Another back line breaking when Sonny's running at you. When you're playing, no need for praying, 'cause Tottenham's always got you. Can't you see he's with me and he's my family? In your head, Son is flying in the blink of an eye with his camera nearby. At the lane or away or it's scoring. He's in my head, Sonny. He's in my head, Sonny.
Yes. Wicked shout for the famous, the wonderful, the world famous Timmy Winstone. You've had amazing Jason McGovern, brilliant Ricky J. Norwood, the amazing Timmy Winstone. I'm Lee McQueen, the crazy train driver for this pod. Ricky, we love you, son. Enjoy the sun, and we'll be back on Saturday. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.